down here. Okay?
Can you go over that again?
Sure.
Sorry, someone was calling me.
Optic nerves are here. Okay, coming down. Ocular motor. Trochlear, the little one way down the side. Okay, the great big one are the trigeminals. The little ones right on the top here are the adducens. And then these are spinal accessory. Okay? If we take a look at a sagittal section of a brain, okay, so this is right down that longitudinal fissure. This is all the cerebrum here. This is the inside of the cerebellum down here. That's called the arbor vitae, or the tree of life. Okay? This band right here is called the corpus callosum. And what it is a big flat band of nerve fibers that go between the right and left hemispheres. Where it makes this little U-turn in the front is called the genu. Where it turns here in the back is called the splenium. On the bottom here, this part is called the fornix. And what that does is it actually encompasses this open space here, right there, that open space. That's an open space in the brain is a ventricle. Okay? That ventricle is usually filled with fluid. Okay, so this is the lateral ventricle, the largest of the ventricles. And that bump in the front of the ventricle right there is called the caudate nucleus, right in there. Below that is another ventricle. This is the third ventricle. And the third ventricle leads via the cerebral aqueduct, which is like a canal right here that runs all along the brain. Right below the cerebellum is the fourth ventricle. Okay, so you have the cerebral spinal fluids made up in here, fills up the ventricles, flows through that aqueduct right around here to this ventricle, and then it comes right down that central canal down the spine. Okay? This part right here is called the thalamus. This part below it right in here, a little harder to discern, this is the hypothalamus. So thalamus is the big round one, the little one underneath is the hypothalamus. Then the pituitary would be here, but when they pulled all the membranes off the brain, there's a little plate that covers the bottom of the brain, like right in this area right here. It's called the infundibulum, and that actually attaches the pituitary to the bottom of the brain. But when they rip all the membranes off, they flip that thing right off. Since it's not on our brains, if they happen to find one with one on there, I will give it to you anyway. Okay? Because you can't see the pituitary because it's been ripped away. Alright? And just a little bit of a different view here. Again, if we pull down that cerebellum, here's one half of the butt, right? Here's the inferior collicula, here's the superior collicula, and then that right there would be the half of the pineal gland. Okay? So that pineal gland is deep in the center of the brain. Okay? And then let's do this. I don't know what pieces they're going to have for you, so I want you to see all of them. This is just the brain stem. So again, here's the spine. This is the medulla. And you notice this big artery right here that runs right down the middle? That's called the basilarity artery, and it's actually lying in a fissure that's right in the middle. And when in your lab book, they tell you to look for the pyramids of the medulla. The pyramids of the medulla are just these bumps on either side of that artery. If they put a pin in there and you say medulla, it's fine, but just so you know what they're talking about. Okay? And then again, this would be the pons here. These are the peduncles here. Here's your ocular motor nerves. Here's a trigeminal nerve way on the side. This great big one would be, this is a trochlear. This is the trigeminal, the great big one. Here's a little adducens nerve right there, all dried up and chunky. And then that would be the spinal accessory nerve hanging off the end. Okay? And then finally, we have a coronal section. So if I were to take the brain and cut the end of it off. Okay? So the dark stuff is the gray matter, and the light stuff is the white matter. This is the corpus callosum, right at the front end of that canal. Okay? This here is actually the end of the lateral ventricle. You notice how there's a septum or a divider in between to separate the left lateral ventricle from the right lateral ventricle. Okay? And then this would be the ends of the caudate nucleus. Okay?
Your phone is ringing.